Okay, Kevin Miller, Kevin's Politics blog. Just wanted to jump in real fast. Just got done looking at the Obama White House portrait hanging. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit later on in this live cast here on Instagram. If you want to see a recording of this, I'm going to post it on YouTube, my YouTube channel, Kevin Miller. You can find it there, and along with the other videos that I've done here on Instagram. I wanted to talk first about the Abe state funeral. There's a Abe Shinzo funeral upcoming for his assassination, which took place last summer, or this past summer. The state funeral is yet to be held in his honor. It's supposed to take place next week. The Abe Shinzo funeral is one of the first state funerals to be held since the chrysanthemum throne devolved to the prime ministerial offices during the Marshall era, which occurred shortly after World War II, the rebuilding of Japan after the bombings of Nagasaki, Hiroshima, which took place in Japan and effectively ended the threat from Japan, causing an end to all cessation of all hostilities in World War II. But this is only the second state funeral that's occurred in this Abe, or in the post-chrysanthemum Regency era. And so while the emperor is still, he may be have the imperial titles and the imperial prerogatives that he has always had, his regency, his effective control of the government has effectively ceased in this prime ministerial era, in this post-World War II Japanese shogunate, which has existed over the last 80 years now, close to 80 years. And so I just wanted to comment on there's been a lot of rumors about who will show up, who won't show up. President Obama himself is expected to show up, along with Mrs. Obama, as well as potentially Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, is expected to make an entrance there. There is a real sort of a lot of different rumors circulating around who exactly will and will not show up in the place of Joe Biden, and as well as any of the other sort of familiar faces during his reign while he was prime minister, which effectively came to an end in 2020. And so the rumor mill sort of says that Obama may actually speak at the funeral. That's what a lot of people are saying. That's sort of the biggest rumor coming out of everything, is that Obama may in fact speak, may in fact tell, and maybe even some stories about Shinzo Abe and his time in office together with Obama and himself. And so speaking at Abe's funeral would definitely be something sort of unparalleled, something very only one other president, if so, no other president has really ever spoken. I suppose General Marshall spoke at the funeral of Emperor Hirohito, Showa's father, who was the emperor during World War II. He did actually speak at his funeral, which is sort of ironic that it was not, in fact, President Truman or anyone, President Eisenhower at that time, even General Eisenhower. It was instead General Marshall, George C. Marshall, who spoke at the funeral of the emperor preceding the emperor who fought World War II. Nevertheless, the circumstances surrounding it are certainly plausible that Obama would in fact speak at a prime minister's funeral, let alone an emperor's funeral. And so we have to stay tuned and see exactly what happens. But again, that's sort of the news coming out of there. Wanted to reflect also on the death of Mikhail Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev, one of the leading figures of the Soviet era for Russia and the communist sphere, which was the chief foe of the United States throughout the 20th century, immediately following World War II. His death is something which is a bit controversial in Russia, since Vladimir Putin has sort of spoke derisively about the sort of details surrounding the end of the Cold War, perestroika, glasnost, the policies enacted which effectively ended the Cold War in peaceful terms and prevented all-out nuclear war from taking place in order to sort of effectuate a settlement between the two spheres. Of course, the Western sphere, led by the United States and Western Europe, and the Soviet sphere, which was led primarily by the Soviet Union, as well as its Soviet apparatchiks and satellite states, as well as the Peking turn, which was in Peking, or what is now known as Beijing in China at the time, the war in Vietnam. A lot of memories are sort of brought up about that time. I guess one of the fashion or fads that was sort of peaking around this time, maybe a little bit earlier, before Gorbachev passed away last week, was the idea of Little Miss Sunshine, which was sort of the little like pocketbooks that you could get when you were a kid in the 80s, 90s. It sort of described a lot of different things that you could do sort of as a person, but it had sort of little cheeky characters, like little cartoon characters. Anyway, these were written not only in English, and I collected a lot of them, but they were also written in French as well as Russian. And I can remember sort of boning up on the different particulars of the languages and sort of disputing it, sort of with my brother and my sister, trying to find out sort of what it means. When she goes to school, she could look it up for me. Of course, I was sort of gaining French fluency at that time, but as well as Russian and a couple of other languages were important to me as well in my education. And so learning sort of the death of Gorbachev, as well as seeing that fashion trend sort of take off, sort of the meme trend take off here on Instagram, was certainly interesting, and was something that was quite fascinating nonetheless to see. Again, Gorbachev was one of the more preeminent leaders of the Soviet Union, someone who had great vision, almost the most perfect vision that one could imagine for a Soviet leader at that time, for the crisis that inflicted the Soviet Union. They had a large budget gap, deficits were running really high, people were starving, education was a factor. There were a number of different crises that had stricken the Soviet Union, and it appeared as though it would begin to fully collapse. But again, a peaceful settlement without war, or a policy of expansionism, war in order to sort of divert the people's attention, or even to sort of gather up more resources to be able to use, was certainly something that was very fortunate for the United States and for its leadership at the time, George H.W. Bush, one of the most charismatic leaders I think that I had seen at that time for the United States. Certainly Ronald Reagan was the most charismatic leader. There are just a number of Republican figures that too numerous to count, too numerous to mention, but nevertheless played such an important role during that time, during that era. George W. Bush, his formative years, sort of his tutelage while his father was in vice presidency, and later became president of the United States. Bill Clinton was someone who may not be a Republican, but certainly inherited the policies of the Republican years during the 80s, and was certainly someone who learned from those successes and chose not to embark on some of the simpler and more plainer policies that you saw during the Carter administration, which were sort of more wide-reaching, wider in scope, perhaps, with what Carter intended to do. But again, policy is only as effective as the people implementing it. And in this case, Carter's case, the technologies that were available at that time severely restricted and prohibited him from being able to execute the policies that he wished to execute at the time for him, which was unfortunate for his presidency. And maybe we can get into that some other time. And so Mikhail Gorbachev, who passed away recently, condolences to his family, of course. I think sort of focusing on graduating, I got sort of waiting to graduate at edX online courses, as well as the Coursera online courses I've been taking. It's been about 4 years now since I first started. I can say I highly recommend them. I can say that they are some of the best courses that I've ever taken, bar none, from some of the best teachers, bar none. I take courses in the International Monetary Fund. I take courses all throughout Europe. And these are easily some of the best courses I've ever taken in my entire life on the subjects, wide-ranging, economics to finance to philosophy, international affairs to political science, to petroleum engineering, to nuclear physics, to chemistry, to microbiology. These are, bar none, the best courses from some of the best teachers the world has ever known, and I highly recommend it. And if you don't believe me, you can check out their course catalogs, Coursera.org, edX.org. You sign up for free. You can take courses for free, and I can guarantee you that you're going to learn something in that that you didn't know before you first started. And the Obama portraits, of course, came up, and that was something that was certainly exciting. The Beijing summit, which is happening next month. It's set for October 16th. The Beijing summit is something where there's a lot of sort of on the line, as sort of a succession talks are in place for Xi Jinping and his premiership. We may see a new vice premier. Li Keqiang, of course, is the vice premier. We may see a shuffling at the Politburo, the standing committee. This Politburo Standing Committee, we may see, which controls and guides domestic and foreign policy. We may see a military commission shakeup. There's a number of things we could see. And so the Presidium, we may see the Supreme People's Presidium. We may see a shakeup there. We may see a North Korean delegation. We may see a Russian delegation. There's a number of things that could take place at this October 16th meeting, which runs throughout the week there, and which is going to be in the week leading up, which is going to be very important, and it's going to be very important for international relations theorists, as well as for political science theorists, about the future of China, the future of economics, the future of relations between the United States and China are at stake. So there's a lot going on here, and we're going to have to wait and see precisely how it turns out. And so stay tuned there. The Obama portraits, of course, those took place, and those were very important, and saw those, and those were some of the greatest. portraits, of course, for African American leadership that I think I've seen at the White House. And, you know, in fact, you know, the first president and the first African American president, first African American first lady. And so nothing to be proud of, everything to be proud of there, nothing to be ashamed of about sort of everything that's transpired, as you've seen. I have my own opinions about everybody. Again, Donald Trump is nothing new to me. I grew up in Florida. I know him. I don't, maybe not personally, maybe, but certainly I've seen enough of him to get a fuller picture. And I think that a lot of people weren't able to piece together throughout his presidency, and it was a presidency that maybe a lot of us were sort of and not expecting, but didn't care enough to sort of think, well, why is his presidential ambitions, so why are they so successful in the first place? If you want to read more about that, you can read on my blog, kevinspolitics.com. There's a blog post there entitled First Impressions of the Trump Family. If you want to see that, it's got perfect layout, perfect sort of feel and tone to it, and I think you should take a look at that. That's going to be very important. And besides that, there's a number of other things, but I'll leave that up to you. You can look at the blog as you choose, kevinspolitics.com. And yeah, so I just wanted to come in tonight, sort of just talk about that, and sort of just get everything out of the way. Congratulations, Obama. Condolences to the Gorbachev family. Condolences to the Abe family. And yeah, hopefully things can get better as in the Presidium and Beijing politics as things progress, and as a fuller picture of the exact politics of what we have at stake here begins to fully flesh itself out more fully as we take a look at things. And so, and perhaps maybe the next video will be about economics more so. Maybe talk more about what's going on in the oil markets, what's going on in sort of the dynamics of the economy here in the United States as well as overseas. The third quarter is ending this month, the end of this month, and so maybe I'll make a video certainly before numbers come out pertaining to how the economy did for this month. And so until then, thank you.